Good evening, and welcome to BCC Television. This is Nigel Noteworthy, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Folk U, a show where we feature interviews with folk musicologicians from around the world. Our guest tonight is Gordon Peary. Gordon is a piano player for Contra dances, a type of folk dance that's very popular over in the colonies. Gordon, welcome to the show. Thank you, Nigel. You know, we don't yet have television back in the colonies, so I've never actually seen your show, but of course I've heard about it, and I'm honored to be here. Don't have tellies? My God, I thought we sent over a whole boatload of them. Yes, but the colonists were upset about it, so they stormed the ship and they threw them all into the harbor. Surely you must have heard about the incident, the Boston TV party? Really? Well, I find that rather insulting, a rather big dig, you might say. Well, moving on, I'd like to start with a question. You don't mind if I ask you a question? Well, not at all. Much better than asking me an answer. All right, well, my opening question, the icebreaker, as it were, a question of titanic proportions. How long have you been playing the piano? Well, to paraphrase Abraham Lincoln, long enough to reach the ground. Very clever, really put the old pedal to the metal on that one. Now, here's something that I've always wondered. When you're playing the piano for a dance, how do you know which chords to play? Actually, I just play whatever chords I want. There's a misconception that the fiddler determines the tune, but what happens is I play the chord just a fraction of a second before the fiddler is about to play. And frantic to play something that sounds okay, the fiddler struggles to find the right note. And when they finally do, they stop. But meanwhile, they've created a little bit of a melody. And when I hear that they have finally landed on the right note, I play a new chord and the tune continues. Really? Well, that's very interesting indeed. Now, I hope you don't mind if I ask you another question. Do you play any other instrument? Well, I've recently started playing the fiddle. I thought I should have the musical experience from that perspective. Oh, and look, my fiddle just happens to be here. Would you like me to play something? Well, well, really, it's no trouble. First, I'll rosin up the bow. You see, you put some rosin on the wooden part of the bow here to keep it moisturized. Otherwise, it might crack, especially given how dry the humor is around here. There, voila! Voila? I thought it was a violin. Well, I straddle various instruments. Here's a tune. Of course, I'm having to imagine the chords in my head, so your television audience will have to imagine them as well. Lovely! Enchanting! Do you think you have a future in playing the fiddle? I hope so. I mean, there are the great masters, Jay Younger, Rodney Miller, Dudley Laufman, but I think there's room for another mega fiddler on the scene. And do you have a backup plan in case your fiddling career squeaks to a halt? You know, I've also gotten interested in filmmaking. With Ingmar Bergman gone and so many of the other filmmakers either dead or getting old, I believe there's some room for some fresh talent. Yes, and have you gotten started yet? Well, I just bought a movie camera. I'd show it to you, but it's being used right at the moment. But perhaps the next time I'm on the show, we can look at it and look at one of my films. Indeed, something to look forward to. Well, that about wraps it up. We'd like to thank our special guest, the colonial Contra dance piano player, fiddler, and filmmaker Gordon Peary. Until next week, this is Nigel Noteworthy saying, folk you.